Somebody just told me that I am everything, I am the single thing standing between you and Friday afternoon drinks. So I'm going to keep to time and we'll get through this together. My name is Matthew Morgan. I'm Head of Customer Experience at Cummins & Partners. Through the day, I've been listening to everybody talk, and everybody, I won't ask you all, I'm just going to assume you've all got a smartphone. Everybody's talking about this as a device, a smartphone, a hyper-connected, interconnected thing that we carry around, a media platform. But to the next generation, these are my kids here, it's just a phone. It's totally unremarkable. And this idea of having smart things and non-smart things, I believe, is about to become completely irrelevant. A bit like early part of the 20th century, when things became electric, it was a trend that was followed by omnipresence. Nobody today goes to the kitchen and says, I'm going to make myself a cup of coffee with my electric coffee machine, just a coffee machine. And that's really reflected in the brands of today. These are the top 20 brands by value according to Forbes, and you'll see they are all digital. They're either pure play digital like Google and Facebook. They are the enablers of our digital lives through hardware and software, such as Microsoft and GE. There's both there, others there as well. Or if they're more in the kind of traditional brand space, they're using digital as their primary form of communication. Omnicom have recently said that McDonald's, one of their big clients, has moved 25% of its TV spend into digital in the last 3 years. And you'll have all heard the car brands, there are a few car brands up there, saying they're no longer manufacturers of vehicles, but in fact technology companies who happen to make cars. And really for me, that as we move into what I think of as this post-digital age, the idea of one-to-one marketing is really going to become possible. And that's not by segment, it's not by demographic, it's not by PMA, but by individual. We're actually going to be able to talk to the individual, to their specific need, because we're going to understand them. And I see that as what I call the third age of advertising. But first of all, let me talk about how we got here. This is Clara Llewellyn, 1931, sponsored by Colgate-Palmolive, regarded as the first soap opera. It was the advertising that paid for the content that entertained a broad audience. What made it possible? The age of mass manufacturing, mass distribution, mass communication. It allowed brands to connect to a broad customer audience. Of course, the last 20 years, we've been in this, what I call the second age of advertising, the second advertising age, the age of multimedia. What changed was technological advances propagating, particularly the internet, particularly social platforms, and that gave rise to a much broader, greater media landscape. And that allowed us, the consumer, the ability to have a voice, a feedback loop. So TripAdvisor, Amazon, as Jeff referred to, Boatface. The advertising still entertains us, but now as the audience we have greater access to the brand, and in some way we have ownership of it. And at Cummins & Partners, we kind of think that in this world today, that sort of broad media landscape actually has the ability to confuse. It has the ability to confuse us marketeers, has the ability to confuse the brands, and when we're all confused, of course, the poor old consumer is going to be confused as well. And in fact, great advertising today, we think, is either simple or wonderful, and very, very little in between. And a good reflection of this is Ad Age's top 2 campaigns of the 21st century so far. The first is Dove's campaign for Real Beauty, a really simple insight that women see themselves differently to others. And at the other end of the spectrum, you've got Nike Plus Running, which is this sort of wonderful fusion of technology and brand and sensors and GPS and internet connectivity that allows the consumer to be immersed in the brand and have an entertaining experience. And it's really to that last point that I see is what will herald the next stage of advertising, and it's just, in my mind, it's disposable technology. It's stuff that is so cheap and inexpensive to make, use, and put out there. It's becoming as disposable as packaging or newspapers. And a simple proof point of that is 1 gigabyte of hard drive today is worth less than 1/10 of a cent. Cisco reckon there are now 35 billion devices connected to the internet, and that raises 50 billion by the end of next year. This tablet here, Android tablet, you can buy at Harvey Norman today for $45. And I know, it's amazing, right? And really, the reality is this stuff is becoming so easy to access and so disposable that really it's going to herald a new way in which we can communicate with customers. And I think of this third age of advertising as the age of personal advertising. Think very simply about a sensor in a tube of toothpaste that will let you know when you're running low. This thing here is called Eggminder. You can buy it today. It sits in your fridge. It tells you when your eggs are a bit past best. It even tells you when you're running out of eggs. Even more than that, it'll add a box of eggs to your shopping cart if you do the grocery shopping online. As marketers, we now have the ability to have a direct conversation with the consumer, and, because we always thought we did have the excuse to talk to them, but now we know enough about them at an individual level that they're going to want to hear from us. Or, maybe I'm overstating there, they're certainly going to be open and receptive to what we've got to say. But ask yourself this: once my Woolworths account once my fridge can tell my Woolworths account that I'm out of eggs and have a box of them delivered to me by drone, okay, by delivery rider, to my home, so that because it knows I've just Googled the recipe for an omelette, so that I have the seamless process and I'm able to go make my omelette. Do us advertisers, us marketers, even have a job left to do? Well, of course I believe we do. I may need eggs, but I have a preference as to which brand of eggs I buy. I might be running out of soft drink, but I have preference to whether I have Coca-Cola or Pepsi. That $45 tablet I showed you does everything an iPad does, but the iPad costs 10 times as much and significantly outsells it. But we're driven by preference, and as a result of being driven by preference, brands still need to entertain us. It's what they've always done. They need to relate to us. They need to find things in common with us to talk to us. But they now need to do so by understanding this complex ecosystem that allows us to have a deep and meaningful understanding of consumers. So I'm going to wrap up by quoting Scar from The Lion King, that you need to be prepared. And these are the 4 things I think you need to be prepared with in the age of personal advertising. Number 1, there's no such thing as digital anymore. Everything is digital. The brands of today, think about the brands today, they're all either pure play digital, they're the enablers of our digital lives, or they are brands that we like and relate to us and communicate to us through digital. Technology is becoming disposable. Embrace it. Find ways to give it away. It's no longer a scary investment for us marketers. It's something that's simple enough and cheap enough that we can take a punt and have a go. Understand the interconnected world in which we live in is going to reduce your audience to audiences of 1. 50 billion devices connected to the internet. We have the ability to understand at an individual level customers' needs, and therefore we should have the ability to talk to them and at least have something to say that they will relate to and be interested in. And finally, from the brand guy, to maintain preference, brands still need to provide entertainment. It is what we've always done, it's what we need to continue to do, and that is me